We have just entered the 21st century. This century, if nations or people go to war, it will not be for oil or ideology or terrorism. It will be for water. This might be a prediction in a United Nations report. Unfortunately, it is already true of India, so early in the 21st century. Summer in India today is a time of conflict between town and country, farmer and flat owner, and within cities exploding, the middle class and the slum dweller. Everybody wants water. Only a few get it. Some manage a few buckets. Some can wash their SUVs every day, comfortably. There is inequity in the way in which water reaches people. Also, there is systematic chaos in the way water reaches people today. It is a twofold crisis. Since independence, water has been centrally managed. The government invested in large dams. It invested in pipes. Even today, if a pipeline from a relatively healthy river is built to a relatively healthy town, taps flow and peace reigns. Treated water flows in, fresh. The town guzzles it. Then one day, the scenario changes. The town or the city must begin to rely on tankers and on bottled water, more costly per litre than milk. Water is a big business. 14 river basins comprise the basis of water supply in India. Today, they are so overused that the rivers have turned into trickles or stretches that carry only sewage. Groundwater, water pumped up from within the earth, has quickly become the alternative. The water level falls. Bore pumps go dry. This is a crisis that can only multiply. Is this a crisis that can only multiply? Can we do something? People like us, busy, who don't have much time to waste on thinking about water, but must because it affects our lives? Can we do something? We can. There is a way. All water that gathers on earth comes from rain. Rain falls from the sky. Can we catch it where it falls? This film is about those who have done precisely this. As a complement to piped water, as a fruitful supplement, they have caught water where it falls, to extreme profit. Siraj Hussain, Vice-Chancellor of the Jamia Hamdard University, Delhi, has experienced its benefits firsthand. And that has made him an ardent supporter of rainwater harvesting.
Jamia Hamdard is located in Tolakabad area of Delhi, which has had problems of water scarcity through the ages. In our own campus, about 20 years back, 14 tube wells were dug, and by 2001 we found that 8 or 9 of those tube wells were not able to draw any water. So we decided that we should be not only conserving water in our campus, but we should also be harvesting water. We have set up about 14 water harvesting projects in our campus, and in the years in which the rainfall has been good, the water table in our campus went up by about 10 meters.
And this has also translated into monetary gains.
You see, earlier, about 5 years back, we were purchasing between 8 to 10 water tankers a day. Now we are purchasing less.
Being in charge of the entire project makes Ahmed Ali, the university's executive engineer, an expert on the finer points of rainwater harvesting.
वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग के लिए
Catchments are the surfaces on which the rainwater falls and is collected for harvesting.
हमारी नीट एंड क्लीन होनी
A
चाहिए.
smooth, paved surface is ideal because the water runs off from the surface efficiently
और अगर इसके ऊपर कुबड़
and there is no water logging.
इसलिए कि
Also, it is easy to maintain and thus the quality of the rainwater collected is better.
पानी होता है इस आउटलेट के जरिए
The inlet of the downpipes are provided with mesh to prevent the entry of suspended materials like leaves and debris.
के जो छत के ऊपर जो हमारी फ्लोटिंग
From the rooftop, rainwater flows down through downpipes or conduits.
इसके बाद हमारा जीटी का
Though conduits can be of various materials, we have used PVC pipes as they are lightweight, relatively maintenance-free and economical.
नहीं डिसिल्टिंग टैंक के अंदर
Rainwater from the rooftop is directly diverted into the recharge well
अंदर जाता है.
because they are considered as the cleanest catchments.
इम्प्योरिटीज है
Layers of filtering materials like boulders, pebbles, gravels and coarse sands in the recharge well takes care of minor impurities.
पाइप के जरिए जोड़ा है.
But the runoff from the catchments like unpaved area carry a lot of silt.
50 से 100 मीटर रेडियस
In order to prevent this silt from entering the recharge structure, the harvested water is passed through a desilting chamber.
हमारा टेबल नीचे जो पॉकेट है वो एक
The desilting chamber has two partitions.
चार्ज करेंगे पानी
The settlement chamber where the silt gets deposited
आरसीसी कवर
and the filtration tank with filtering materials like pebbles and gravels that helps to arrest the remaining suspended particles. The filtered water is then diverted into the recharge well. During a heavy downpour, the recharge well may not be able to soak up water at a fast enough rate. Therefore, another role of a desilting chamber is to control the flow of water into the recharge well. At the level of the pebbles, the recharge bore has tiny perforations that allow rainwater to trickle in. To filter the water even further, a jute coir rope is wrapped around the recharge bore. It acts as a very good second stage filtering material and even catches sand particles. Water soaks through this coir and enters the recharge bore. This and other recharge wells in the campus are about 2 meters wide and about 3 meters deep. It is a simple brick-lined structure and has an RCC and in some cases metal grill covers. The manhole on top helps in easy access for periodic maintenance. This has a recharge bore with a diameter of 4 inches and goes 30 meters deep, which is about 15 meters above the water table. This gap is required to facilitate natural filtering by the different layers of soil.
All these structures are quite cheap to build and involve a very basic understanding of construction and engineering skills. Since Delhi rarely has sustained heavy downpour, a pit of this size is adequate. But for areas with heavier rain, larger pits may be required. The formula to calculate the size of the recharge well is quite simple. The area of the catchment multiplied by peak rainfall intensity for 15 minutes multiplied by runoff coefficient. In the case of Delhi, for instance, the peak hour rainfall intensity is 90 millimeters. For design purposes, the peak rainfall intensity for 15 minutes is considered, which roughly works out to 25 millimeters. If the building has a rooftop area of 100 square meters, then the volume of the structure is found by multiplying 100 square meters into 0.025 meters into 0.85, where 0.85 is the runoff coefficient factor, which means that 85% of runoff can be harvested. Based on this calculation, the structure will be 1 meter long, 1 meter wide, and 2 meters deep. This recharge well will be provided with a recharge bore with a diameter of 4 to 6 inches and whose depth depends on the water level at site. Rainwater can also be harvested from unpaved areas and internal roads, provided they are well maintained. The ins and outs of this is explained by Azhar Ali, an engineer at the university.
जो हमारे एरिया में देख रहे हैं आप उधर स्लोप है.
During the rainy season, water used to flow out of the campus. To arrest this, we have constructed these trenches, which traps the surface runoff. Since the runoff is from an unpaved surface, it carries a lot of silt and other debris. that will clog up the recharge well.
इसके through collection chamber में
So first, the water goes into a desilting chamber and then into the recharge well.
वहाँ पे filtration होता है, फिर वहाँ से हम recharge well में ले जाते हैं और वहाँ से फिर ground water को recharge करते हैं.
Now the question is, how much water can be harvested from a building? The formula is pretty simple. You have to multiply the area of your rooftop with the average annual rainfall of your city and runoff coefficient factor. For example, if you have a rooftop area of 100 square meters and if your city gets 1000 millimeters of rainfall, you have to multiply both with a runoff coefficient factor of 0.8, which means that you can harvest 80% of rain which falls on your rooftop. The total amount of rainwater which can be harvested from this building is 80,000 liters annually. This water can either be stored or diverted underground to recharge the aquifers, depending on the number of non-rainy days in your city. If the rainy days are less, as in the case of Delhi, which has 338 non-rainy days, the recharge method is advised. Storage will be a good option if your city has a less number of dry days or gets 2 monsoons annually. Let's see now how one can determine the size of the storage tank. For example, if the number of dry days is 200, then you have to plan for these 200 days only. The normal drinking and cooking water requirement for a family of 5 at the rate of 6 liters per capita per day, LPCD, will be about 30 liters. So for 200 dry days, the requirement will be 6,000 liters. So a storage tank of 6,000 liters capacity can fulfill the drinking and cooking water requirement for the entire year. The university was determined to squeeze out as much rainwater as possible from the campus. This not only helped to recharge the groundwater table, but also helped reduce the waterlogging problem in the premises. As the arts teacher at Delhi's Mira Model School, creativity and inventive thinking come naturally to Atul Bhalla. Atul has been instrumental in harvesting rainwater from unpaved areas such as the school playground.
We see the whole grass and the green area that we have is also because of rainwater harvesting, because previously we didn't even have the grass here and we didn't have enough water to water the grass, so nobody took the courage to plant the grass. So after rainwater harvesting we have a nice green field.
And the grass also minimizes the soil erosion and works as a filter. As a result of this exercise, the playground of Mira Model School does not get waterlogged during the rains anymore, and the groundwater level too is on the rise. In many buildings, it is difficult to construct recharge wells due to lack of space. In these cases, a series of percolation pits can be constructed. Percolation pits are smaller versions of a recharge well, which contain filtering material and a shallow recharge bore. These are covered with perforated RCC slabs so that water can naturally flow in them. With low rainfall and a booming population, Delhi and its suburbs are continually short of water, making amenities like swimming pools seem like an unnecessary luxury. In this scenario, rainwater harvesting has made quite a splash at Delhi's Panchsheel Club. Here, rainwater is used for the swimming pool, explains Krishan Sehgal, former president of the Panchsheel Club.
This is one of the main requirements of the Panchsheel Club. And when we set up the rainwater harvesting system in the club, this was one of the main requirements that we met. Now the benefits of the rainwater harvesting can be seen from one simple fact alone. If you spend nearly 80,000 a year on the water required for the swimming pool, today with the increase in cost, it could well be over 2 lakhs. And the total amount we spent on the rainwater harvesting system in the club was less than 50,000 rupees. And in addition to that, we have enough water to make our lawns green, to bring out trees and otherwise improve the environment.
The success of the Panchsheel Club encouraged the adjoining Panchsheel colony to invest in rainwater harvesting as well.
Now you see behind me the plan of the whole rainwater harvesting system as it has come in the colony. There are 26 structures in the rainwater drains and there are 10 structures in open spaces. Now the stormwater drains are these. They run like this, they run like this, and they go out. The total cost of the system at the community level is incredibly low. We have spent about 6 lakhs of rupees, which comes to about 600 rupees per household and about 120 rupees per capita. The result has been that our water quality has improved and the decrease in water level has been considerably slowed down. Whereas in the rest of Delhi, the water level has gone down by 6 or 7 meters. In our colony, it is less than 2 meters. And this in spite of the fact that there are almost 120 to 125 tube wells working in the colony. During monsoons and heavy rains, the road that you see used to get flooded and would be nearly under 1 foot of water for 2-3 days at a time. Since we have done rainwater harvesting, there is no flooding. In addition, because of the impression that has gone wrong that we are an ecological and a green colony, both rents and property values have gone up. This is a very big benefit for a very small investment.
Motorcycle manufacturers Hero Honda have consistently projected an image of being an organization that cares about the environment. The rainwater harvesting system at their Dharuhera plant in Haryana is a model for industries to follow.
Rainwater harvesting scheme at Hero Honda Motors Limited Dharuhera plant covers 11,000 square meter catchment area. In industry, rooftop area is considered as the catchment area, and the maintenance of the catchment area, that is the rooftop, is very, very important. If you look at the back of me, there's a rooftop area which is maintained through a defined procedure in a very neat and clean manner, and the surface runoff is not considered in industry because of the possible contaminants. Once the groundwater is contaminated, it is difficult to clean that groundwater. Maintenance of filtration media is very important to have the better efficiency of the system. Before every monsoon, we remove the filtration media, clean it thoroughly, and put it back into the recharging well.
Piped water supply has failed to keep up with rapid industrial growth in the outskirts of Delhi. As a result, the industries have been digging deeper to extract water. This water also contains high TDS levels and salinity.
When we came to this site in 1990, the groundwater level was at about 20 feet and the water quality was about 700 TDS and about 300 hardness. Within a decade, the water table had fallen to 42 feet and the TDS level had gone up to 2000 and hardness had gone up to about 700. This was the time we decided that we needed to augment our water sources.
Texcorp, a zipper manufacturer, decided to use the harvested rainwater directly and only let the excess amount go to the recharge pits. 3 large capacity tanks already being used to store water were connected to the harvesting network.
What has happened as a result of this is that over the years we have been saving approximately 500 tanker loads of water worth about 60,000 rupees a year, and the water treatment costs in terms of reduced use of softening kits, etc., to the extent of about 10 or 15,000 rupees a year. So I would say the total savings because of rainwater harvesting have been about 75,000 rupees a year. Industries, especially in the textile sector, need to go in for rainwater harvesting, especially because they use water for processing such as dyeing or in the utilities like boilers.
Rainfall patterns are very different in the northeastern states and the south. In cities like Chennai, heavy rainfall averaging 1200 millimeters distributed throughout the year means rainwater can be stored and used for various purposes. Though the basic system for harvesting rainwater remains the same, there are some significant modifications. In Chennai, Dr. Vaidyanathan, an eminent expert on water-related issues, speaks about the water scenario in the state.
Borewell phenomenon is entirely post-80 phenomenon. These borewells have essentially replaced dug wells, shallow wells which people used to have. What does it mean? You are in effect mining what the geophysicists call the static groundwater reserve. And because of this, it becomes extremely important to do both of two things. One, increase the rate of recharge, try and arrest the fall in groundwater levels, and to the extent possible also reverse this trend. The second is to economize on use of water.
Vishala Lakshitottam slum colony in Mylapore, Chennai is one of the many places facing acute shortage of water, and summers are particularly severe. But rainwater harvesting has brought much needed relief. As one of the prominent builders of Chennai, Jay Kumar has a hand in the design and construction of numerous rainwater harvesting systems that are compulsory for every building in the city. His practical experience with the diverse requirements has resulted in continuous refinements to the existing systems.
At Vishala Chittotam, we have implemented a new type of rainwater harvest system exclusively useful in urban scenario. It is a ground plus 2 tenement apartments.
In this system, 2 pipes have been provided. The first pipe, having a greater diameter, comes down from the rooftop and is fitted with a first flush device. This pipe is used for flushing out initial silt during the first downpour. After the end cap of the first pipe has been closed, the water in the pipe rises and goes to the second pipe, which is called the overflow pipe, which has a smaller diameter. The second pipe distributes the rainwater to all the 3 floors. After the residents have filled their buckets and containers, they close the taps. The excess water goes to the recharge well, which helps to recharge the borewell located adjacent to it. As with the pipe system, recharge wells too are slightly modified. Unlike Delhi, they are constructed using prefabricated RCC rings. This saves cost as well as time. Innovations and technology can only take us so far. The real success of any such system lies in cooperation at a community level.
There are literally a few hundreds of tanks of varying sizes all around the city, in varying states of disuse, degradation. There are 2 problems with this. Their natural drainage channels being blocked, inflows are affected. Then you have people, the dumping of sewage and garbage into them makes the water utterly non-potable and of health hazard, to be blunt. In fact, the law which made the ordinance, followed by a law which made rainwater harvesting compulsory, has a provision saying that these areas and other natural recharge structures should be protected, should be revived, and nothing should be done to alienate them for other uses.
The tank, what you see here is, it used to really give drinking water for the entire Pammal. Even 30 years ago, the people have been drinking this water, and after that there has been lot of degradation, and the water was not really useful for drinking purpose. It was used like a dumping area of all garbage.
Cleaning the tank took about 3 months, and a good monsoon filled up the tank. In less than a year, a garbage dump and a hangout for local hoodlums had been transformed into a shimmering lake.
In order to keep the tank clean, what we did, 1/4 of the entire tank we converted as a settlement tank. First the water comes and settles here and then overflows through this area, and the clean water is fed into the tank. And with this, the entire area is really recharged. The area what you see here, in that well, there was not a single drop of water for the last 10 years. But for the last 3 years, we have sufficient water in that well. And then in and around all this area, people are so happy that their well has never become dry for the last 3 years. The last summer, there was a severe drought in the whole of Chennai. But in this area, we had enough water to meet our daily requirements.
Harvesting large areas such as a community lake or a sprawling structure does not necessarily mean enormous costs. Existing structures can be put to use, thus reducing expenses significantly.
In 2002, rainwater harvest was done in M.E. Chidambaram Stadium, Chennai. Fortunately for us, there is a stormwater drain running all around the ground. What we did was only to build a baffle wall at the end of the stormwater drain. The entire stormwater drain became the collecting chamber for the system.
J. Kumar diverted the surface runoff from the playground into the storm drain, which runs all along the boundary. He later covered the drain with perforated slab to collect the runoff and built 21 percolation pits at regular intervals to recharge the aquifer. The overflow from the drain is diverted to an open well through a desilting chamber.
This system is so effective that normally the stadium will be buying 7 loads of water from the month of January to May. But now in March, they have not started buying water. Maybe at April, May alone, they may have to get water. So there is a clear good savings.
What Chennai has shown that is determined government serious about implementation. Normally these regulations, notifications are observed more in the breach than in the observance, often not observed at all. It's quite heartening that once this strong edict came, there was a very strong political support, and there were dedicated civil servants who went full blast at making sure that these structures were installed.
But it takes governments time to draw legislations and then implement them. In the meantime, a lot can be achieved at an individual level. Vishwanath's house in Bangalore is an example of the level of water harvesting and conservation that can be done individually.
Bangalore is pretty particularly situated on a plateau about 920 meters above sea level. It gets its water from the river Kaveri about 100 kilometers away and about 500 meters below the city level. There's also a limited supply of water available from the river itself. It's about 1,500 million liters per day. That's good enough for a population of 7 million. Bangalore's pretty close to reaching 7 million people. So it's almost at the cusp of a water crisis. The other factor is that groundwater in Bangalore is very less. We are on the Deccan Plateau, hard rock terrain. Recharge rates are very slow. Surface water bodies are disappearing. Lakes and tanks are going away. 262 in 1962, down to about 55 now. So there's a coming crisis of water.
The good news is that the rainfall in Bangalore is distributed from April to November. With about 60 rainy days with over 970 millimeters of rain, storage is the best option. Devices such as a 500-litre rain barrel can generate between 23,000 to 25,000 litres of water in a year.
A sloping roof needs a rainwater gutter. The rainwater gutter can be made of PVC, GI sheets, aluminum sheets, or even local materials like bamboo or areca nut leaf. The gutter also needs an end cap on one side so that the water is picked up on the other side, and a slope of 1 in 100 as it goes along. Clamps are put usually at 1 meter center to center to hold the rainwater gutter. This way, all the water falling on the sloping roof should be collected and conveyed to the filter and to the storage. The first flush is a vertical pipe with a valve. When we clean the roof or we don't want to harvest rainwater, we open the valve and the water goes away. When we want to collect the rainwater, we close the valve. The first 1.5 millimeters of rain is held in this vertical pipe. 1.5 millimeters of rain means for a 20 square meter roof area, you devise this volume to be 20 into 1.5, 30 liters of water. 30 liters of water is held in this vertical stack before it comes into what we call a dhoti filter, a cotton cloth folded 3 times over to generate 8 layers of cloth. The rainwater filters through the cotton cloth and goes into the rain barrel and is stored there. Whenever we need to, we can take the cloth off and wash it. It's a simple device, it's a very effective filter device. As rainwater falls on a normal RCC roof, it tends to evaporate a bit, it tends to be absorbed a bit, and the coefficient of collection is usually 0.80. That is to say, if 100 liters of rainwater falls on the roof, we get to collect only 80 liters. But the very same rainwater, if it falls on such a painted roof, tends to run off much more, and you get between 95 to 98 liters. The coefficient of collection goes up to 0.95 to 0.98. Rainwater falling on the roof is collected in the GI tank, which is a capacity of about 1,000 liters. When the tank fills up, the water falls down and comes through this overflow pipe. It comes in this 90 millimeter PVC pipe into a ferrocement filter. After filtration, the water flows through an underground pipe and comes into a sump tank, which has a total capacity of about 6,500 liters. And this is the final collection point of rainwater in the house. With a 6,500 liter sump tank, a 100 square meter roof area, in an average year we collect about 80,000 to 90,000 liters of water, which is good enough for this family of 4. For between 200 days to 300 days of their water requirement.
In a geologically diverse nation as ours, problems and their solutions often vary significantly from region to region. For instance, Indore, the commercial hub of Madhya Pradesh, depends completely on groundwater drawn from a total of 22,000 tube wells. As the water table dropped drastically, almost all the tube wells dried up. However, in recent years, the city's unique crusade to recharge groundwater has worked wonders. In the summer of 2004, just 700 tube wells failed.
Indore Municipal Corporation has started full-fledged department for water recharging and harvesting, and probably it is a first municipal corporation to have such independent office. And we provide 6% rebate in property tax and 1,000 rupees case incentive to the people who are making water recharging and adopting this method for their tube well. We have also introduced by legislation to make it compulsory to have water recharging system in the new building permission.
In tandem with administrative encouragement, the city of Indore uses a unique filtration system that is relatively cheap, easy to install and effective. Rakesh Mittal, registered contractor with the Indore Municipal Corporation, explains the Devas filter.
This is a rainwater pipe coming from the rooftop. This is the first flush outlet for draining off the initial dirt from the rooftop. After flushing, it is closed. Rainwater flows to the online filter, which is called Devas filter. This has layers of pebbles, limestone, coal and sand. After filtering, the rainwater is diverted into the working bowl. Sometimes the filter gets choked. To activate the filter, this valve is closed like this. This cap has to be opened. Also, the first flush outlet is opened. The service saddle is used for backwash. In the process, the filter gets cleaned and is ready for use again. This is Devas filter. It costs rupees 700 to 800. This is service saddle costing rupees 50 to 60. This is ball valve made up of PVC costing rupees 250 to 260. Along with these, MTAs are fitted costing rupees 50 each. The end cap costs rupees 30 and the total system along with labor charges costs rupees 1,600 to 1,800.
Rainwater harvesting requires initiatives at the policy level. And more than that, it requires efforts at a community and individual level. When the British came to India, they called it a hydraulic society. They were amazed at the way communities managed their water resources. Every city of India was known by the name of its lake or pond. But British rule upset this relationship, and independent India did no better. We were told to get on with our jobs and forget about our water. The government would take care of it. We would get piped water. So the Indian people's basic bonding with water broke down. This has to be rebuilt. Tradition can only be strengthened by use of new technologies and appropriating it in the modern context. Water harvesting has the potential to meet most of our ecological, industrial, household and drinking water needs. It is a perfect tool to bring people closer to water again. We need to look at the other methods of conservation as well, such as recycling wastewater and using it in our daily lives. Reacquainting ourselves with the sources, rivers, lakes and groundwater from where our supply comes. In other words, getting to know the water better. As we saw in this film, the process of harvesting may vary from one region of this country to the other, but the principle remains the same. Catch water where it falls.